gave an exercise to our students that you please find out all symbols of all religions and tell me if any symbol of any other religion or philosophy or an ashram or any other guru ever can match the completeness, wholesomeness of Om in describing the truth. It cannot. It's not possible. Om by itself is so complete because we experience these three states. We are either awake or we are in dreaming state or we go into deep sleep state, or beyond that there is one state of awareness. That awareness flows through all the three states. That awareness only makes us awake. That awareness only keeps us in dream state. That awareness only withdraws us back into nothingness. But it remains. That remains is the Brahman, from which the wakeful person comes out, the dreaming person stays, then the deep sleep person disappears into it back. And one simple example yesterday we saw of gold. The gold was there. First it was a bangle, then it became a chain, third it became a ring and gone back to becoming gold. So was the gold there in chain? Yes. Was the gold there in ring? Yes. Was the gold there in bracelet? Yes. But was the bracelet there in the ring? No. Was the ring there in the chain? No. Was the chain there in the bracelet? No. But gold was there all through in all of them. So if you understand like this, wakeful state is like a bracelet, dream state is like a chain, deep sleep is like a ring, while gold is there, the fourth one which stays all through. So when we are awake, we are not dreaming. When we are dreaming, we are not awake. When we are awake, we are not sleeping. When we are sleeping, we are not dreaming or awake. We can only be in one state at some point in time, our consciousness. But the entire thing is covered by a single state, which is the Turiya, or which is the fourth state they call it. Actually, it is not even the fourth state. It is the only state. It is gold is only one. You can't say, I had a ring, I had a chain, I had a bracelet, now I have gold. No, the gold was there all through the ring, through the chain, through the bracelet. But because of the name and form of the jewelry, you didn't recognize the gold, but you recognized the jewelry. So when somebody asks, what is it? Your first reaction was, it's a necklace. But you didn't say it is gold. However, when all the names and forms are removed from this, the gold has been melted back, made it melt, goes back into just a ball of gold. Then what will you call it? You don't call it a ball of gold, you call it gold. Because ball of gold is no jewelry. So you call it gold. Likewise, when we are awake, we call I am this body. Like I am the bangle right now. When we are dreaming, I think I am the necklace, the other one, the other jewelry. And then you have deep sleep, I don't think at all, but I believe that I do exist and I exist as myself who has gone into deep sleep, means this body and mind which has gone into deep sleep. That is how we believe. But at the end of it, the truth is that the gold alone is truth, which was there all through it. From it came out the bangle, into it went back the chain. Gold remained as the fundamental basis. So that is, see, there is no direct examples for explaining Brahman. This is how far you can go. Beyond that, it's your experience that should teach you. But to explain how Om represents the whole concept of Brahman. Brahman is that which was, is and will remain, which does not undergo any modifications. Its names and forms are nothing but superimpositions or conditioning of that gold. Conditioning of the Brahman. But Brahman by itself is not conditioned. Gold does not become less or more. Its form and name has just changed because of the jewelry that has been made. 10 grams of gold in ring will remain 10 grams of gold in chain. It will remain 10 gram gold in bracelet. Everything else will remain. Gold will remain in its value and its color and its everything the same. Like that, Brahman is the same, absolute one, on which everything else is being modified and put on. So Brahman, like another example that I give very common is, you're born a boy, but you are also a son to somebody. You're also a brother to somebody. You're also a student to somebody. You're also a grandson to somebody. Now you are the boy fundamentally. You are only becoming grandson. When your grandfather comes, you behave like a grandson. When your teacher comes, you behave like a student. When your father comes, you behave like a son. And when your sister comes, you behave like a brother. Where did this brother or son or grandson or student come out from? All these came out from you. It's all conditioning of you based on these situations. But you alone were Likewise, if you just extrapolate it straight all the way to Brahman, Brahman alone is. On Brahman, all these superimpositions are happening. One moment Brahman is looking like the body. Another moment Brahman is being thought of as the mind and the emotions. Another moment Brahman is being experienced as the experience of happiness or sorrow. Another moment Brahman is just awareness. So what is Brahman is what is asked. Brahman is all of this but none of these. And all of this is dependent on Brahman, but Brahman is not dependent on these. Gold is not dependent on the ornaments. Ornaments are dependent on gold. If a gold you remove it from suppose there is a bangle, I say I'll remove the gold from it. Will the bangle remain? No, it won't remain. It will disappear because gold disappear. Likewise, the whole Jagat, all the experiences that we are going through, waking, dreaming, sleeping and beyond, everything is dependent on Brahman. So Om has been so very correctly selected as the symbol of Brahman. In fact, it is Brahman because it is so apt, so perfect in its representation of Brahman. Because when you open your mouth, a sound comes how? Sound uses the entire mouth. So different parts of the mouth are used for different parts of sound. Something comes out from your palate, something from the soft palate, hard palate, something from the tip of the tongue, something because of the teeth, something called, these are Vyanjana and Swaras they call it in Sanskrit. The lips are one type and teeth is another, Dantya, Oshtya, Nasika, all these kind of sounds that you produce. Now think all the sounds they can produce on earth. Every sound is covered under Om, it says. Think from your point of view. When you open your mouth. Ooh, when you're closing the mouth. And when you have closed the mouth. And fourth is silence. All sounds of the world are captured in Om. And sound was the closest to Brahman. The first thing that came out of Brahman is what? Akasha. Akasha was having the quality of sound. And that sound which covers everything is the closest representative of Brahman. A father's closest representative may be son. Or a husband's closest representative is wife. Likewise, the closest representative of Brahman is the sound, and that sound is perfectly captured in one syllable called Om, Omkara. A Jagrata Avastha. From silent. Now first you are in silent mode. If you have to produce sound now, mouth opens. You became awake, Jagrata Avastha. Srishti happened. Then you are sustaining the sound. Sthiti is happening. You are doing, sound is going back. Laya is happening. And finally at the end, silence, again to silence. So that is the idea of Omkara, that how perfectly it represents Brahman. So if our Yama says, if I have to tell you briefly about Brahman, it is this one sound called Omkara. If you understand its secret, you will understand Brahman. So what is Brahman is none of these sounds. Neither it's A, nor it's U, nor it is It is the fourth. Or another way of looking at it, it is the only one which pervades all the three states. Silence is there in all the sounds. Think about it. Silence is there in all the sounds. Sounds are nothing but modifications of silence. Like ornaments are nothing but modifications of gold. Like that, sounds on the world are nothing but the modification of silence. Silence alone was, is, and will remain after all the sounds emerge, sustain and disappear. That is the idea of Brahman. It alone is, was and will remain when all this Jagat comes and goes. The dreamer comes and goes, the waker comes and goes, the sleeper comes and goes. What remains is that awareness, that pure consciousness. That is why a very nice shloka from Vidyaranya Swami's Drigdrishya Viveka, it explains this very correctly. It says, Asti Bhati Priyam Rupa Namam iti pancha amshakam. 5 things are there. Asti. Asti means it is. That's all. Bhati means it is shining, or it can be made known. Awareness. Priyam, it's pleasant. It's very nice. And then That is the feeling part of it, emotion part of it. Then you have Rupam and Namam. Then a form, and then form should have a name. So these are the 5 aspects to everything in the world. You try and observe for yourself. Whether it's you, your mother, father, son, daughter, any object, dead, alive, animate, inanimate, everything has these 5 things. And then what happens? It says, Adyatraya Brahma Rupam. The first 3 are the Brahma Rupam, the higher ones. That is Asti, Bhati and Priyam are the higher ones. Jagat Rupam Tatah Dvayam. The last 2, name and form, are called Jagat. So the moment you drop the name and form, everything goes back to the state of Brahman, is what it is said. You think like that. The moment I drop the name and form of the bangle, it goes back to becoming gold. The moment I drop the name and form of the bracelet, it goes back to becoming pure gold. Only as long as the name and forms exist, the differences exist. Otherwise, we are just the same. Water is water, but you put it like children make ice candies in home. They put it in the fridge, in different designer vessels, like a Mickey Mouse shaped mold is there. And they have a star shaped mold. So they make ice candies. They put water, put some color in it, and put something, and then put a stick. And when it freezes, they take it out and keep licking it, sucking on it. But all of them are ice. All ice is water. It took the form and name after it was put into a mold. If you take all the ice cubes which are there in your refrigerator, put it in a bottle, they all will look different. This cube to second cube, you can count 10 cubes. Leave it for 10 minutes. All becomes water. You can't identify which cube went where. You can't trace them. Likewise, Jagat is just the Nama and Rupa. That's all is Jagat. Remove Nama and Rupa, everything is one. Everything is same. So we are finding these differences in the world because we as a body are different from another body. I am a male, you are a female, he is a child, he is an old man, he is a rich man, poor man. All these are associations with the body. And body, the moment we get out or we rise above this idea, we will see there is oneness in everything. Like ice cubes become water and everything is one. There are no separate ice cubes. This is just the modification of water. Likewise, this whole world, the animate and inanimate, is just the modification of one Brahman. Like all sounds are modification of silence. Like all ornaments are modifications of the same gold. That is the basic idea of Vedanta. Everything else is a modification. That is why Shankaracharya would say, Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya in the first level. World is an illusion. Brahman alone is Satyam. Why? Ice cube is an illusion. Water alone is Satyam. Ornaments are illusions. Gold alone is Satyam. Sounds are illusions. Silence alone is Satyam. Because from that only everything emerges. In that only everything is sustains. And into that everything goes back. The 3 aspects of Jagat: Srishti, Sthiti, Laya. Creation, sustenance and dissolution. All 3 aspects are maintained by Brahman alone. On the substratum, the foundation called Brahman. That is the idea of Vedanta. And that is what Om represents so correctly. Because Om has got a sound called A, which represents the waking state, because as if you are opening the mouth is the beginning of something. U, it is the state, neither you are fully making sound, nor the sound is fully disappearing. It's somewhere in between, like your dream state. And when your sound is now slowly disappearing. Till when? Till it becomes no sound at all. It becomes silence. Like you go to deep sleep and you become lost. So that is the idea of representing the Brahman through one thing called Omkara. And very beautifully the next shloka explains this Etad Deva Aksharam Brahma. This one Akshara which is Brahma, Akshara means that cannot be divided further. Now you can't tell me now that Swami, I broke the Om into A, and silence. So it has broken into 4. It's like breaking a cube of ice into 4 pieces of ice. That is what it will be. All 4 are ice only. You can't tell you told this is unbreakable, I broke it into 4. No. All are Brahman because the silence between the sounds is Brahman. I'm not talking about the the modification. The silence below is Brahman. The 4th one is Brahman. So Om is not further destructible. It cannot be broken further. So that is Akshara. That is why it got the name called Akshara. And why it's Akshara? Because Brahman also cannot be divided. It is one continuum. Though it is in all of us, like ice cubes are different, the water is one and the same. Water is a continuous thing. Water is not divided. Ice is being divided because it took a form and a name due to freezing. Likewise, we are think of yourselves like the ice cubes frozen and became man, woman, and all kinds of shapes and sizes. But truth of yours is only your Brahman, one continuous Brahman. It's not even like my Brahman is different. And one ice cube says that no, the water of mine is different from the water of yours. No, they're illusions. Substance is at the end H2O only. Do what you want, it is H2O only in all water. Yes, it can be sweet water because a little modification has happened of sugar being added. It can be salty water because salt has been added. But break it down to the fundamental non-breakable level. It is all H2O. Can it be anything else? Can some water be H3O or H2O, O4, O2? They are not water then. There are other kinds of chemicals are there. Heavy water, we call it deuterium. Nothing else is water. Likewise, the colors and the tastes of the water may change because you've added engineering degree to one and medical degree to another and teachership to one more fellow, singing to another, playing to another, mother to one, father to one. These are all like colors added to the same ice candy. So they look like colorful ice cubes. But if you break it down further till it cannot be broken any further, you will find there is only one commonality between all, which is H2O. And that is our reality. We are Brahman at the foundation, the basic level. And all these are modifications. Jagat is the Nama and Rupa. That's why when I was explaining Guru, I said Guru is what? Gunarahita, Rupa Varjita. Your Guru is not the one who is having a form and a name and who is talking through a mouth. That is not Guru. Guru is Gunarahita, is beyond all the three gunas, and Rupa Varjita has no form. If has no form, then there is no name. Only a form can have a name. So this disappears. That is how the Brahman is to be understood. As I said, if you're Uttamadhikari, you will get it just like that. If you're Adhamadhikari, tomorrow I can come back and ask you. So what did you understand of Brahman? Then you will have different answers. Elephant is a rope, elephant is a wall, elephant is a leg, elephant is a fan. Like 4 blind men, you will tell me 4 answers for Brahman. So that is why you have to sit and think about this. It just doesn't come like that. Na medaya na bhauna shrutena. It doesn't come just like that to your head. It has to be sat and thought. Think of ice cube, think of gold, or think of a clay pot. Clay pot is the example that Upanishads use, Chandogya Upanishad use. When Shvetaketu comes back from like this Aparavidya, after finishing his PU and engineering, he comes back home. And then father asks, what did you learn? I learned everything, you know what, this happens like this, that happens like this. All right. Did you learn that, knowing which everything else is known? What is that? Did you know about Brahma Vidya? He said, what is that? I don't know anything about it. Like most of the college graduates, if you ask them what is Brahma, they will not be able to understand. They'll think Brahma is that Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, Brahma. No, not that. Brahma is also the higher idea of Brahman. What is that? Nobody knows. So he was like that. Then his father sat there, Uddalaka said, sit down, let us discuss. And then he showed him that there are various clay pots are there. But what are they? At the fundamental level, they are clay. The pots are different. One is round, one is tall, one is short. But everything is clay. So Mrittika ityeva satyam, he says. This alone is truth. The clay alone is truth. Pots are variations. Pots are all modifications. In a way, pots are illusions. The truth is that the clay alone is the real. Like that Brahman alone is the real from which we all are made. See how beautiful it is. Our culture says you are made of God. Your fundamental building material is God only. How elevating is this thought? I am God, that is Vedanta. You are none other than God. In fact, it says, Jivo Brahmaiva na paraha. You are not different from God. You are God. Then why am I behaving like this? Why I look like this? Why I think like this? I am so papoham, papamatma, karmaham. Why I am thinking like this? That's your illusion. That's the illusion that you think that you are not God is your problem. Truth is you are God. Just think you are God, you will become God. Ya mati sagate. Just think you are God, you are God, you are God, you are God. That is why 4 Mahavakyas were given to us. Am Brahmasmi, Prajnanam Brahma, Ayamatma Brahma, Tattvam Asi. Ayamatma Brahma is from Mandukya, where this Om has been described, all these things. Am Brahmasmi from Brihadaranyaka. Prajnanam Brahma. Where is Prajnanam Brahma from? Aitreya Upanishad. Prajnanam Brahma. The last word of Aitreya Upanishad is Prajnanam Brahma. So this way, all Upanishads have taught that you are that, you are that, you are that. Other than that, we believe everything else. That is why I always laugh. That is the problem, because we believe that. So that is why I started this Upanishad, the story that a lion cub got lost in the group of sheep, and then thought it's a sheep. Till the real lion came and showed him that you are not a sheep, you are a lion. Don't believe that you are a sheep. That is what I am saying. That is what Upanishads are saying. You are divine. That is your fundamental truth. You are none other than divine. If you have thought anything in you is not divine, you are mistake. That is your illusion. Everything in you is divine. It is the divine which makes you think, speak, act. But why do I speak bad? Why do I think bad? Why do I act bad? These are all modifications to that pure divinity. By what? By your mind, your ideas, your associations, all that you have picked up on the way. So get rid of all of them. The final, absolute, fundamental building material of you is Brahman only. There is nothing else. Gold only. Everything else is added to gold, removed from gold, but final gold is gold, which is not changing at all. So that is the idea of Om. Very beautiful practice is there. He says that etadyeva aksharam brahma, etadyeva aksharam param, etadyeva aksharam gyatva, yo yadichati tasya tat. He says etadyeva aksharam brahma. This particular one aksharam, etad iti eva aksharam brahma, 16th one. So Brahma is one. Then he says etad eva aksharam param. Also says param. Now param is Brahma or Brahma is param, or what is it? Why these uses two, Brahma and param? See the idea. Now you have to get into Aitreya Upanishad, because all of this is not so straight. You may just pass on saying that Brahma, Param, everything is same, let's move on. No. There is a subtle difference between what is Brahma and what is Param. So in the beginning, Aitreya Upanishad says, in the beginning there was this. There was this, idam. This. Agre asit. In the beginning was. This was there in the beginning. What was? It doesn't talk about it. Doesn't tell it was a male or a female, it was old or young, or it was intelligent or dull. Nothing it says. In the beginning, this was there. That's all. This one thought. What it thought? Let me create the lokas. Let me create different worlds. It thought. Just thought. It didn't do anything. It just thought, let me create world, and all the worlds got created. Like in your mind, if you think, let me have an ice cream, immediately my ice cream gets created in the mind. Does it need you to go to a shop and buy? In mind, anything can be created. That's all he thought. Let lokas be there, and lokas got created in his thinking, in his thought. And from the loka, he said, each of these lokas should be occupied by some lokapalas. Suppose I create a campus, I have to put a chairperson there. So like that he thought, who will be the chairperson for these lokas? So he created some deities out of it, some forces of nature that will occupy these lokas. 4 lokas he created, then created deities for these lokas. Then what happened? Suddenly all this material that he had created, loka is like the initial, that gas, dust, whatever we call it, before the Big Bang. All that material got created. And from that material came what? Suddenly it took a shape of an egg, and like egg hatches itself on its own, this hatched, and eyes popped out, nose popped out, tongue popped out, mouth, ears came out, and navel came out, all the organs of reproduction and excretion came out, skin came out, hair came out. Like that it goes on describing, mind came out, heart came out. On its own all this is happening. Those who are biology students, you should see how a cell divides itself. Have you seen a cell division? At least you have seen in diagrams. On its own it divides. Do you go and tell cell, now divide, 10, 10, you should divide into 2. No, it divides on its own. It has its own intelligence. It just decides, now I am going to divide myself into 2. My nucleus will split into 2, and my body will split into 2, whatever. Cytoplasm, mitochondria, everything will double. And everything will become 2, 2, 2. Now, suddenly these 2 cells decide, I want to further divide into 2. It goes on dividing on its own. A cancerous cell is the best example. It keeps on dividing itself. That's why it's cancerous. Cancer cell is not some poisonous cell. It's not some viral or bacterial infection. No, it's your own cell. It's continuously dividing itself. In the process, it's eating away other cells, other energy of other cells. It just doesn't know how to stop dividing. Therefore, it's called cancer. It's a modification of your own cells. The disease is just a modification of your own healthy status. It didn't come from somewhere. Your health got modified into a disease, that's all. So, an intelligence is there which keeps doing its thing. And that cosmic intelligence made this thing divide and came out of Virata. So first was the this. And this started thinking. Thinking became some lokas, some material got created. From the material emerged the first being with all the faculties. And from there came the second and then many, many beings, and it started multiplying like that. The first being was neither a male nor a female. It was just a being with all the functions possible. And then it became male and female according to various reasons, and it started multiplying. Thing is that all this is said in 4 paragraphs, but the science would say this happened over millions of years. First there was gas, and then the gases were reacting and interacting, and some of them consolidated, and there was a huge explosion, big bang, and then a lot of matter flew out of that gaseous cloud, and then that's how planets formed, stars formed, and these planets, some of them got together around a star called Sun, and that became a solar system, and that became a part of the Milky Way galaxy, and which became part of this particular universe. And there are many universes, and there are continuously universes are getting created. Multiverse it's called now. There's no universe in the universe. It's a multiverse. So that is what, and all this is described in Aitareya Upanishad in a very short way. That there was this, and then it thought it should create something. It created lokas, which are like Amba, Maricha, Mara, and Apa. Amba means the higher heavens. Maricha means that's where the shining happens. That is the intermediate space, the sky. And then Mara means that loka where people die. Mara means that where people are born and they die. And Apaha means water. So he created these 4 elements in the beginning. Space was already there. From there he created, space means nothingness, that space came, from space came the air which fills the intermediate thing. And the shine Maricha. Maricha loka means all the shiny thing, means heat, means fire. Then Apa and Mara, that is Prithvi and Jala. All these elements got created. Gas became liquid, liquids became solid, and that solid there were cell reactions and life emanated. And from these life, single-celled animals, these multiple complex organisms started coming of all kinds. And then from that, we humans have come, which is the epitome of the creation. So all this is what science will describe in a long way. And Aitareya Upanishad, imagine these fellows did not have any science labs or any binoculars or any telescopes and microscopes to decide all these things. They just knew by intuition. Brahmavid Brahmaiva Bhavati. They came to know of what the intention was, the original idea was of creation, how it was created. It's very beautiful. That is why you should read Upanishads. On your own, read the other Upanishads, at least summary of it. So you get some idea of how rich was our understanding of everything. So now why I told you all these things, because in the beginning it alone was, they say, it alone was. That it is called Param. That it, which was in the beginning, that is called Param. This Param, where it was, the place there, where the Param means it does not have a house or a address that this is where you go and you can meet the it. It doesn't have that. So below that is a loka called Brahma Loka. When this it modified itself and started thinking, it's called Ishvara. And that Ishvara is one aspect of the same it. And from there came the Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha was the gaseous cloud, the mass, the first material, building material of the universe. And from Hiranyagarbha came the first being with all the faculties called Virata. And from Virata came whatever the beings came. So we remember the first chapter we heard, when you do Nachiketa Agni, where do you go? You go to Virata level. It's the highest of all. Then if you do this, he said yesterday, even Abhayasya Pare, you go beyond fearlessness, that is the Hiranyagarbha level. Beyond that is Ishvara level, which is the thinking Brahman. So when you see about Brahma here, he is referring to that thinking Brahman here. And Param, he is referring to the absolute Brahman. So there are 2 types of Brahman we require. And now again more complication, but one is called saguṇa Brahma and another is called a nirguṇa Brahma. Nirguna Brahma is that which was in the beginning and its only quality was it was. Asti. Asti. Out of the three things I told you, Asti, Bhati, Priyam are the qualities of Brahman, they say. Whereas Nama and Rupa are the qualities of Jagat. Now, Asti, Bhati, Priyam, three. So, Priyam, you can think of it as the Hiranyagarbha, where the first emotions and thoughts emerged, because heart emerged, mind emerged, all these things out of Hiranyagarbha it came about. Then you go up further, and then you go to this particular thing called Ishvara, the thinking Brahman. So thinking Brahman is what is referred to here as Brahma. The thinking Brahman is called Ishvara. And then you go one more level deeper, the non-thinking Brahman, which was it. So thinking Brahman is Bhati. Why? Because it thought. It means it became aware. So Bhati is the awareness, or the one which shines, or awareness. And then a non-thinking Brahman, the absolute zero thought Brahman was there. That is called Param, which has no modification, not even the modification of thought in it. It is absolute, purest consciousness. It's called Param. So this loka says that this Om itself is the way to understand that Brahma. Also, it is the only way to understand that Param also. And it says, if you understand this one Akshara Om Gyatva, whatever you want to attain, you will attain. If you want to attain the saguṇa Brahma, you can attain that. And if you want to attain the nirguṇa Brahma, without even the thought in it, which is purest consciousness, you just is, asti, then you will attain that too. What was Nachiketa's question? Asti iti che eke, nayam asti iti cha eke. So what is Nachiketa asking this Yama about? Asti. He is not talking about Bhati, Priyam part of Brahman also. He is only talking about the Asti. Does it exist in the purest consciousness form? Or does it not exist because it cannot be understood by anything? And that is what he is answering, that you can attain both Brahman, the saguṇa Brahman or the nirguṇa Brahman, by using the same Om. If you meditate on the Brahman as the saguṇa, that is the one who thought and created the universe, and therefore he became one, became many. If that is the approach you want to take, so be it, you will understand him like that. But if you want to take Om as the approach, that it just is. It doesn't think, it doesn't laugh, it doesn't smile, it doesn't cry, it doesn't do anything, it just is. You can attain that highest level of abstract nirguṇa Brahman also using Om alone. That is why yadichasi tasya tat. Whichever one you want, you can have. So this Om is like that. If people use Om only to seek pleasures and things from gods, give me this, give me that, you will get that much only using Om. But if you use this Om to ultimately understand and realize that ultimate Param Brahma, one is Brahma, one is Parabrahma. That Parabrahma, if you want to realize, Om alone can teach you that also, he says. The Om is so effective. Depends on what you use it for. We use Om on everything. You think of any mantra. Any mantra. Om Brahmarpanam, we get food when we chant this. Om Yadevi Sarvabhuteshu, that we chant and get strength, Shakti from Devi when we chant. Or Om Gam Ganapate Nama, we get Buddhi from Ganapati. Or you chant Om Gurubhyo Namaha, you get grace of your Guru. For everything it starts with Om. That's called Om Shom Iti, that is what they say. Om is the one which Sham means goodness. It pronounces, it proclaims, it declares good happen, let good happen. Om, it is said. Therefore, Om is the word which we use for all aspects. From mundane begging small things to God, we chant a mantra starting with Om. Or we can simply cut off all the mantras behind the Om and just retain the Om part of the mantra and meditate on that, saying that we don't want the tail behind you. We just want the head, that is the Om. All the other mantras get energy from Om, like sun gives energy to everything. But I don't want all the other things, I want the sun. So I want only Om. When you say that, and with Om alone you start meditating, thinking like, I am beyond the wakeful state, I am beyond the dream state, I am beyond the deep sleep state, I am that fourth, the eternal, the unchanging, the fundamental. Then you will start believing in that too. But how do we believe in something? First we have to not believe in the wrong beliefs. First you have to not believe. And what do you do with Om? First you don't believe that you are only Jagrata. First you don't believe that you are the person in Swapna. First you don't believe that you are the only person in Sushupti. And then you believe that you are the fourth. So both things are covered by Om. The discarding of one part and the accepting the other part, both are covered by this one mantra called Om. So Om is a mantra by itself, though it's a single syllable mantra, Om. Om also has a beautiful mantra in Kathopanishad that how you can attain Brahman, that idea of Brahman, merge yourself in that idea using Om. He says, Pranavo dhanu sharohi atma brahma tad lakshamuchyate apramattena vedhavyam sharvat tanmayo bhavet. This is from Kathopanishad, where there is a meditation given using Om as the basis. What it says, Pranavo dhanuhu. Om is also called Pranava. Pranu is a, Nu is a dhatu, from means to fall at somebody's feet or to pray or to worship. So Pranava is a way of worshipping whom? Brahman, who is otherwise not known. So Om is called Pranava. So Pranavo dhanu sharohi atma. Yourself, you imagine yourself to be Shara, means the arrow. So Pranava is the, Omkaram is the bow. And you are the arrow. Your mind or yourself, as you imagine yourself to be, you are the arrow. And what is the goal? Where should this arrow go and hit? Brahman. Tad lakshamuchyate. The goal of this arrow is to go and hit Brahman. Means meet Brahman, merge with Brahman. And what happens? Apramattena vedavyam. Apramattena means without making a mistake, the unerring one. The one who is very focused, he will not make a mistake. Think of an archer who is shooting. For that moment, they are even advised not to breathe, because even breath can shake them and then they may miss the target. So all these Olympic shooting championships, they are advised at that moment they don't breathe. So pranayama is a big exercise for the Olympic or shooters. Because pranayama, because if you breathe, there is a slight vibration in your body. That can actually deflect the shot. To that extent, you have to preserve your steadiness. So apramattena, steady mind without any mistake, shoots it. And where it is go, the arrow goes and hits the Brahman. And it means you become one with Brahman. When the arrow meets the target, it becomes the target. This is the imagery with which Om has to be practiced. Like this Atma, and there is a Brahma is the Laksham, and you hit and it will go and exactly meet Brahman. Provided you don't make a mistake. What are the various mistakes we can make? There are plenty of things we can do, but one thing, we are distracted. Our mind is distracted, body is distracted. Because of that, we will not be able to achieve the oneness with Brahman. So only the person whose mind is absolutely steady, undistracted, untempted, very focused, such a mind, which strength, two things are there. One, focus, two, strength. If you have very good focus but no strength, it will fall here only, arrow, at your feet. But if you have a lot of strength and no focus, it will go and hit somebody else. But you should have focus and then strength. When both come together, then only you are able to hit the target. So this upasana, this meditation has been given in Kathopanishad. Your strength is, your steadiness is, where does it come from? Your strength comes from your vairagya, detachment. If you are attached to anything, you become weak. That will be the reason why you will not be able to take a decision properly, why you will not be able to do the right thing, because you are attached. Dhritarashtra was attached to Duryodhana. Can't think right. Even Arjuna finally came to the battlefield and said, I don't want to fight this war. Why? Because there is attachment in him. Attachment to Dronacharya and attachment to Kripacharya, Bhishmacharya. That attachment was not allowing Arjuna to think right. So that was Arjuna's weakness. Likewise, our weakness is our attachment. So mind which is attached to anything other than Brahman, that's why Brahmacharya. Anything other than Brahman will be a weak mind. It will not be able to go all the way. It will fall off halfway. And tapa. Tapa means what? That strength and focus. Why you are not distracted? Your mind is very focused. So Brahmacharya, Tapa, that is what it is. Shraddha, Tapa and Brahmacharya. These are the three things in Prashnopanishad. Pippalada Bhagavan tells all the 6 disciples to practice for 1 year. Tapo, Brahmacharya, Shraddha, Samvatsara, Samvatsyatha. Practice for 1 full year, then let us talk about your problems. So that idea of Tapaha, which has been mentioned, the Yama said, no? Tapansi, and then Brahmacharyam and Veda. Veda is the Shraddha, that is Shratrasya Guru Vakyasya, Sattva Buddhi. That was the first step Here also, like in Prashnopanishad, Yama says, Sarve Veda Yad Padma Amananti. So Veda means the Guru Vakya or the Shastra Vakya. Second thing, Tapamsi Sarvani Chayad Vadanti. Tapa is all these things I told about. Sharira Tapa, Vangmayi Tapa, Manas Tapa. All these values you have to practice. That will give you the steadiness. And strength will come from Brahmacharya. If you don't have Brahmacharya, you will not have enough strength to shoot the arrow all the way till the target. That is why don't distract, don't ruin your energy and mind in unnecessary distractions and attractions of the senses. Everything is to be controlled. Brahmacharya is not merely about a distance from gender problems, issues. It's also withdrawing your eyes from watching unnecessary things, ears from hearing unnecessary things, tongue from eating unnecessary things, talking unnecessary things. All experiences of the world have to be withdrawn and all the focus has to be turned towards God. That's why students were called brahmacharis, because their only one and only purpose was to realize Vidya, good God. All other distractions were not there. And Gurukulas were created in such a way that there were no TVs, there were no movies, there were no malls, there were no eateries, and there were no problem of kerosene and matchboxes. So everything was safe inside a Gurukula. Therefore, Gurukula system, education, to help you to practice brahmacharya, to help you practice tapas, to help you develop shraddha in Vedas and Shastras and Upanishads, this is the idea. Why I took so much time to explain these shlokas is because there is such deeper ideas in these shlokas. Simple 3 words called Veda, Tapa and Brahmacharya means a lot. And with that only one is able to understand. And then he gives the meditation on Om. Please sit and think about the meditation that has been taught. And you practice that meditation also all the time. But anything you touch, sound, the final sound that remains, the residual sound of everything is Om. After that it's only silence. Anything that I do is Om. Whole universe is filled with this very fundamental vibration called Om. Think about it.